Hi, my name is Jill Monroe, a member of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are excited to be talking to Jarrell Jerome and Anthony Robles, the creator and star of the new MGM Amazon Studios film, Unstoppable. On the call today, we have Al McGee in Florida, Brandon Collins in New York, Carolyn Hines in Ontario, Canada, Karan Lenore Kelly in Virginia, Chris Johnson in Raleigh, North Carolina, Dana Crombie in New York, Philippe Patterson in Maryland, Juri Olenek in New Jersey, myself in Los Angeles, Najir Chambers in Maryland, Nancy Green in Los Angeles, Ruben Regard in Florida, and Tamara Jackson in New Jersey.
So why do you do this? Why do you wrestle? When people look at me, the first thing they see is what's missing. If I win, having one leg won't be the most important thing about me.
The champ is here! Celebration dinner for Anthony!
The mom told me about that Drexel scholarship.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep my options open.
When you could go to school for free? Hey, you heard what your son said? He's gonna keep his options open.
Every big college has seen you wrestle, and so far, Drexel's the only one that made the offer.
Have you heard from ASU? The best college wrestlers in the world go there. Anthony.
The best I could offer you is to walk on.
I wish you the best, but I'm not interested.
Listen up. You're gonna have to beat out men who were recruited to be on the Arizona State University wrestling team. You're gonna have to prove everyone wrong just to make the team.
Hey, sure you don't want to run track?
You are 6 months behind on the mortgage.
It's a perfect opportunity for Anthony to pitch in.
I'm not letting him quit wrestling, and I'm not letting him quit school.
I got you. I'm here. Anthony, your greatest opponent, never gonna be somebody standing across from you on a mat. What's all this?
Dear Mr. Robles, I'm in the 3rd grade, and you're my hero. I wanted to tell you how much I look up to you. You make people believe in something.
Surprised to see you.
Don't be.
When they see you, they don't see someone who's missing a leg. They see someone who is unstoppable.
I'm not done yet.
You can show them that anything is possible.
Oh my God, is that guy missing a leg?
That's my son. What, you're not gonna cheer?
I used to be angry all the time, but I'm not angry anymore. So what are you?
Good evening. My name is Najir Chambers from Big O Belt Media, based out of Washington, D.C. Jerome and Anthony, my first question for you two today is, in the collaboration of this project, how did you navigate the balance between the moments between the double and when it was necessary and when the actor needed to take primary focus? What was the process of making these decisions, and how did you communicate with one another to ensure the performances stayed seamless?
I'll start, and I'll take it. First of all, hi everybody. I guess the quick answer for me on that is whenever I was tired as hell. Billy was very meticulous with the way he shot it. We kind of went back and forth. It was like I do one, Anthony did one, I did one, and what we were doing required a lot of energy, almost all of our energy. It's when you shoot a boxing film, it's one thing to fake the punches and do the naps and the sounds, but wrestling, unfortunately, there's no faking any of that. It's all your might, it's all your strength, and it's all your pull and pull, your push and pull. So Billy coming up with the decision to have Anthony there wasn't only helpful for all the CGI and for all the special effects, but also just for both of us to kind of get some breathing room.
And I got to give a ton of credit to Jarrell as well, just because of his attention to detail, not only on the wrestling mat, learning my unique style of wrestling with all the moves and the timing of things and the angles that I hit, but also just how I move on my crutches. He spent so much time just focusing on those little details, how I can move without my hands, how I carry bags, how I get up, get inside and outside of cars. And so for Jarrell, just his commitment to those little details, it was up to Billy to decide who he wanted to put in. And honestly, for me, watching the finished product, it was hard for me to tell most of the time, like who was actually wrestling, who was actually walking on the crutches, because how well he did and how much time and effort he put into it. So, he was telling me I could beat him in a race on the crutches. I definitely think he would, I wouldn't be looking back too far. He'd be right there next to me because of how good he got on those things. So
I appreciate the answer. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Hi, guys. Brandon Collins from the Media and Popcorn Podcast. My question is for Anthony. It's an absolute honor to be speaking with you. What was it like watching Jarrell, who's had an incredible career on his own, right, betray you during the most emotional and trying times in your personal and professional life? And what do you think? What do you hope folks will take away from this inspiring film?
Well, thank you. And it was an honor, to have Jarrell tell my story. And I knew who he was before, we got introduced from his work on When They See Us, and he did an outstanding job. And, so to have him represent me, that was exciting. But when I had the opportunity just to really to get to know him and just to see that, he truly cared about telling my story from my eyes, from my perspective in a way that would make me proud, that meant a lot. And, when you add in, we had really plenty of time to kind of get to know each other since 2019. I was able to open up to him about things that it kind of came natural. It wasn't me talking to a stranger, it was me talking to a friend, talking to someone that I could trust, that I knew had my best interest at heart. And so to see the finished product, to see him up there, I was just blown away, because I just remember just, the way he was acting, the things he was saying, and the look in his eyes. I was like, man, that's me up there. He understood, he captured it. And I'm very proud of that. I can look back now on this film for the rest of my life, just knowing that, Billy and Jarrell, they did me justice. And so that to me that's the ultimate blessing right there. It's special to have a movie told about you. It's an honor, but, to have it be something that you can say, yeah, that's actually me right there. He captured me and my feelings. I couldn't ask for more.
Thank you. And great job, Jarrell.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And thank you, Anthony. Come on, man. Come on.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And I thought this was such an exciting and inspiring movie. And yes, one of the things that I noticed as I was watching it, I was also like doing research and looking you up and stuff like that. And I was like, it's uncanny how much Jarrell looks like Anthony. I feel like in the expressions and things like that. And so I wanted to know if you could talk a bit more about the specifics of working together to get those things right. And also the wrestling. Like, it was like halfway through the movie that I was like, oh, wait, right. Jarrell has two legs, not one, because it looked so real. Like just the body movements, everything was so authentic. So can you talk a bit about those two things?
Yeah, for me, there was almost two separate journeys for me, and one was the physicality, and the other side was the emotion. The physicality came with working with Anthony for months. We did 7 months, 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. I actually got on the mat with Anthony himself and his coach, Brian Stith from ASU. It's one thing to learn wrestling, the fundamentals, the history, the camaraderie, the importance of it, but it's another thing to learn it in Anthony's lens, through Anthony's lens, and on the ground and on the mat. So actually having him there kind of fed a lot of the physical performance. I was almost able, it's kind of weird, but I was kind of just like standing behind him while he's not paying attention and mirroring him slowly. And it's one thing to have a YouTube clip or a book or a 20-minute Zoom where you talk to the person you get to study, but it's another thing to really spend that time. And then as for the emotional part, that was definitely, that was kind of a silent journey for Anthony and I. I didn't spend a lot of time asking him actual specific questions about what it's like to feel this or what it's like to feel that. I just sat back and I observed. I got lucky to see him in all these different situations, including being my body double and stunt double, which requires him to be on set for 13 hours a day in, day out, and being doused with makeup 2 hours a day. He's asking me like, what the hell? This is what you signed up for, and just watching him learn and soak that information, and it informed a lot of my performance. So I got to pick at a couple of those pieces, and I promised him that Anthony, he's the greatest wrestler ever, and he's so dominant on the mat. But when you really talk to him and get to know him, you won't even think this guy's a wrestler. He's the sweetest, most charming guy. He's so bright and positive, and lights up every room he walks into. So I wanted to make sure I captured that for him.
And just from my perspective, being an athlete, it's the attention to the little details, that separates you from the average athletes, that make the greats. And Jarrell, that's why he's so great in his field. I didn't even know he was paying attention to me, the little things that I was doing. But it was funny, watching the film for the first time. I had my wife on one side and my mom on the other, and I walked out of that theater with bruised ribs on both sides because they were both elbowing me like, yeah, you do that right there, you do that right there. That was all Jarrell, the attention to detail. And for the wrestling side of it, it was pretty neat because I've been wrestling since I was 14 years old, and I had great coaches who helped me to design a unique style of wrestling that fit me. So I've known it, that's what made me successful. But really for the film, the intensity that you saw, the level and the caliber of wrestling that you saw, that was going to be dependent on Jarrell and his, ability to pick up those little details and those little things, and his attention to them. And so for me to be able to go out there and compete behind, in front of the camera, I honestly was able to go 100% just wrestle free because Jarrell had brought his level up so high to where I didn't have to hold anything back. I was confident that I could go out there and show the best technique because he knew the best technique and he was executing it out there. So in a way for me, I was like, man, I got to bring my A game because, Jarrell was right there bringing his A game. And that was something I believe, we call it the wrestling community. All the wrestlers that are present, the ones that have come before me, I'm getting so many emails and posts from social media saying that they're proud and they're so excited about how the wrestling came out. And that comes back to Jarrell, being able to show that and him let me wrestle free on that mat.
Nice. Thank you so much. And it was really inspiring. I mean, I was just so happy to see you beat McDonald. That yeah, that was fun. So I had a lot of fun watching this.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Chris Johnson, CW Network affiliate, as well as Caravision Broadcast Network here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Congrats to Jarrell and Anthony. Superb job. Wonderful job in this film. Very inspiring and remarkable all the way around. Question is directed towards you, Anthony. What role does mental toughness play, in just achieving your goals, and how can others develop it in their own lives?
Honestly, I think that's the biggest and most important lesson that I learned from wrestling was that mental toughness aspect of it. It begins and ends with that. And I believe that's something that it can very much be learned, and it's over time. It's the thing by pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone little by little. And I'm blessed to be a high school wrestling coach now. And that's the number one lesson I'm trying to teach these kids, that mental toughness part of it and just setting little goals for yourself. I believe that, going through our daily lives, it's very easy to look ahead, at the big picture, but that big picture seems so far away, from being completed. And then when the bad days start popping up, we lose sight of that big picture. We start getting discouraged. And, what I try to train my mind to do is just focus on those little things, the little blessings, the little victories I have every single day, those little things in my life that, that make me happy, the light, and then you build on that. Okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And the more you do that, the more you stretch that mental toughness part of it. But I think for these kids now, there's so much pressure out there, so many different things that they're dealing with, different challenges. It's difficult, and for everyone, it's difficult just to develop that mental toughness part of it. And that doesn't mean you don't face the pain, it doesn't mean you just ignore it, you pretend like it's not there, you address it, but in a way that's healthy for you, that you choose to focus on the light, you choose to focus on the good things, because unfortunately there's always going to be the negative, there's always going to be the bad, there's always going to be the challenges, but we can't allow our minds to dwell on that. And the more you conscientiously make that decision every single day, the easier it's going to be. Just like building your muscles in the gym, you have to build that mental toughness daily, and the more you do it, the stronger you'll get.
Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you.
Hello, Gerald and Anthony. This is Philippe from Taji Mag. Thank you for putting together a well inspirational film. I noticed that there's a connection to Rocky and the influence it has on people. I want to ask you, what does this success of this film have? What type of influence does it has on you and your future projects? I know for Jarrell, you have your acting career going forward, and you have your other endeavors. Like, what will influence you going forward from this film?
Oh, well, for me, this is my first time being the lead of a major, film and a feature film. And not only that, being surrounded by such an incredible cast of like people I've looked up to. So this feels like, I've been blessed with when they see us. I've done incredible projects like Moonlight and I'm a Virgo, but this kind of feels like that first one of like, hey, I'm here. I'm here, and I'm here to stay. And so for me, it kind of just makes me excited for what can come next and sort of what doors may open. And then in terms of my mentality of choices, I'm even stricter now. I've been very selective with my roles, and I've been very adamant about making sure that the characters I play challenge me in some sort of way. And so far, I mean, playing Anthony was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. So it's going to be hard to beat. I hope that the next thing I do is something that challenges me as much as this and challenges my work ethic and my range.
For me, the longest time I was just focused on my athletic career, winning a national title and things of that nature, the trophies. But, that scene in the film when I got that letters, from that group of third graders, that changed my whole perspective on my life and what I really wanted to focus on. I realized it was more than just me going after an athletic goal. I wanted to use that platform to show kids and inspire anybody out there who is wrestling a challenge that they can overcome their challenge, they can reach their goals. And so, with this film now, I believe that's going to give me a whole nother platform and opportunity to share that message and also just to help and find that next unstoppable story out there, whether it's through public speaking, whether it's through networking for, charity events. I just want to be able to give back and help like my coaches, help me, because I think that's the thing in life. It's like, like a wrestling match, you're out there by yourself, but you got your team in your corner. You have your coaches in your corner that are cheering you on, that helps you to get to that point. And the same thing in life, nobody can get there alone. And so my goal now is just to look for that next unstoppable story, who's wrestling through something that I can help out, that I can help coach through to get to their victory moment. And that's my focus now, is just finding that next unstoppable story.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Really enjoyed it, and many blessings to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My name is Carolyn Kelly. I represent Karanazim Media Group and Love Music Pleasure. And I so identify with you because I am a disabled vet. And I want to ask you, Anthony, how do you see the future of athletes being recognized and acknowledged, and the future of sports? Because you literally beat folk with one leg. So how do you see the future of sports and the future of people being differently abled to compete in the real world?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your service. And I really appreciate your question. And, for me, I'm excited of the future for athletes who, and I love how you said, with a challenge, who are differently abled, because that's exactly how I see it and how I was raised. And I believe not only with this film, but, with social media, with that power, young kids, young athletes coming up now who are facing a physical challenge, they can see that, there is opportunities out there. There is, that chance for you to reach your goal as well. It doesn't matter if you're missing a leg, if you're whatever you're dealing with, you can accomplish that. And so I think it's special because now they can see that there's heroes out there that look just like them, and that they can be that next hero. They can be that next individual, that next champion. And so it's special as well, because with social media, I can reach out and interact with some of those kids. Some, especially through wrestling, have reached out and can help give them a blueprint, if you will, of wrestling, things that they can do. But I cannot wait to see the next stories that are popping up, those next opportunities. And I believe that the more we see that, the more we're going to see that, there's no such thing as, a disability. It's a challenge. That's the way we have to see it. It's a challenge. How can you figure it out? How can you adjust? How can you change to get what you want? And the more athletes that are coming out like that with challenges that they're overcoming, the more stories we're going to see to where it's going to it's going to be amazing. And I was just blessed to be able to play a small role in sharing that with this next generation of youth coming up.
I am so grateful for your story, and I am so grateful for Jarrell and your performance in honoring the story of people who are differently abled. And I thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karan.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jaree with Real Chatter Podcast. Nice to meet you. My question is for both of you. Going through this process and this journey together, is there anything new that you learned about yourself that this project helped made you realize?
I learned the gym, honestly. I was in and out of the gym a few times before this project, and I had some sort of athleticism from my teenage years, but this project really kind of just showed me what I can go through physically and mentally. And I kind of pushed myself in ways I never thought I'd be pushed. And I bend myself, quite literally bend my body in ways I never thought would be, So it just gave me a sort of boost of confidence as an actor. And then just as a human in general, growing, I'm 27 now. So just growing into my age, fitness is so important for me, and self-caring and my health. And so it's one of those roles where I genuinely, it changed my life, and it gave me a certain focus and a direction for myself physically and mentally.
For me, it helped me to realize just how blessed I truly am. Because I mean, for the longest time, it was like, I was fighting against the world, trying to prove them wrong. And, I'm going this way, but, I was missing out just how blessed with this support system that I had, starting with my amazing mom, who believed me from the very beginning, with both of my high school and my college coaches who, really, they treated me like I was a state champion, like I was a national champion the first time I walked through the door, and they really, they echoed my mom's voice in my head. My mom would say, don't let your challenge become an excuse. My coaches would say, we're going to focus on your strengths and camouflage your weaknesses. And, so I just feel like I was very blessed and very fortunate to grow up, even though there were so many things against me, to have these special people in my life to, stand behind me and push me forward. And now that I'm a dad, it's like my perspective, my mentality's changed a little bit. I'm trying to raise my son the best way I can with my wife. But I'm finding myself just reflecting back on those experiences and those lessons with these individuals in my life, how much they touched me and how much they inspired me. So, just going through this whole process and reliving these moments, and seeing it on the screen, it just reminds me how blessed I am, and not to overlook those things.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jill Monroe, RSVP with Jill Monroe. Jarrell, you mentioned that this is sort of for you, your breakout lead role. What is it about the script and the story that inspired you to say, this is the one that I want to take that step with?
A couple of things. First of all, as the actor, the challenge, it's a dream for, at least for me as an actor, to know that I'm going to be pulled and stretched in ways that I haven't before, and show a certain range that I didn't get to before. So it's kind of like this, this seems like enough a lot to do. Anthony, sorry to make you sound like a character, Anthony, but Anthony, he has such an incredible duality within him, where he is this dominant wrestler with such a monstrous energy, but he's also such a kind and soft soul. So I wanted to toe that line and figure that out. And then the second I saw a clip of Anthony, there was no saying, there's no saying no to that. I wanted to get to know him. I wanted to meet him. I wanted to figure that out. And I wanted to, see who the guy was. And when I met Anthony back in 2019, it just became a thing where it's like, all right, this is not the guy I'm playing in a movie. This is a friend of mine. This is someone I genuinely care for. And I'm on board to make sure I can flesh this story out in full with him. Because once you get to know him, you'll be down to do anything for this guy.
Amazing. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
I'm Al McGee with YEticket.com. And also, I'm a veteran. And I really enjoyed this film. But I want to ask, first of all, Jarrell, when you heard that you were going to play with Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael T. Williamson, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale,
yeah,
how excited did you get to, to know that these actors you're gonna be playing with, and Anthony, I just like to ask you, and you were on the set. Did you see some comparison of sports to acting?
Mm. Well, first of all, thank you for your service as well, man. Can you repeat your question to me? Because I liked your question, to Anthony, a
Yeah.
lot.
When you first found out that you're gonna be
Oh,
acting
yes,
with
of course.
Jennifer Lopez, Don
Yeah.
Cheadle, Michael T. Williamson, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale, I
Yes, of
mean,
course.
man, this is a A-list.
Yeah. I mean, I was thrilled. At first I was terrified, if I'm being honest with you. I was real nervous, and um it kind of gave me fuel to make sure that this performance was even better than I was hoping it would be. I mean, when you're surrounded by A-list and top tier, you don't want to let anyone around you down, and you don't want to let yourself down. So it was an extra edge that I was very happy to receive. And then in terms of working with them, I mean, acting is reacting. You can have all the lines in the world and you throw it out there and you throw it out there, but a big part of acting is listening and reacting. And when you're given so much to work with, it's not too hard to listen. And so working with people, especially like Don and Bobby, um, who are just masters at their craft, it kind of allowed for allowed for it to allow for me to tap in a bit easier.
And my question to you, Anthony, did you see some comparison to sports to acting since you were on the set for many days?
Yes, sir. It was pretty neat to see. First off, is the commitment. How much time and effort goes into all the little things. There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, for 30 seconds of footage, it's hours upon hours of setting up and just going over and over again, and the commitment to that. But also just the passion, for what they're doing, for the project, for the story, and just I noticed too, just as Jarrell's walking around and Don, and just how they get in their zones, much like an athlete, right? They kind of go off to themselves, they kind of get focused, they get their mind in the right place, and then they go out there and they just, I say execute. You go out there and you execute in your field, and it was neat to see. It's very special for me to see those little things. But also, what I loved was that, as we're kind of going through this whole process, and I'm learning so much from these individuals, just the humility with this amazing cast. Jim taking the time to, bring my mom and myself and my siblings on board and on the ride with them, and making us feel included, and making us feel respected. And I think that's one thing I learned from athletics from the very beginning, especially from wrestling. You go out there and you get humbled real quick, but you kind of remember, all those things you went through, and you look out for those, and man, these group of people, they just made it special for us. That humility and being willing to listen to us, to have our thoughts included. If we didn't like something, that's something that I just, as that I really respected as well. But yeah, there was a lot of different comparisons I can make in that.
I want to thank you very much, and I really enjoyed the film. And keep up that good life, both you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, good afternoon, gentlemen. Congratulations on the film. I'm Carolyn Hines for Karen and Toss YouTube and podcast channel. I want you both to talk about disability visibility. About the importance of visibility of disabled people, especially in Hollywood and on film, because we don't get much films about that. I myself have multiple sclerosis and fibromyalgia, so those are considered invisible disabilities. But I want you to talk about how making this film change your perspective on the importance of visibility for disabled people on screen, but also highlighting them in your lives. We can start with you, Anthony, because you live this life, but you also wrote a book about your life, and now you have a film. So how did the film and writing the book change your perspective? And for you, Jarrell, how was being involved in this film change your perspective on that? Anthony, you first.
Well, I'd say for me, I was born, with my physical challenge, and, people noticed it, so it was something that was very visible, and something I had to deal with my entire life and prove people wrong, and kind of show them that, it didn't matter what I didn't have. And I believe that there's a lot of individuals out there like me that they're fighting that same battle every single day. And I just want people to kind of respect them for who they are, for what they're capable of, not for what they don't have, not to focus on what they don't have. And so, writing the book was one thing, but, to have it told on the big screen for the world to see that and actually visibly be able to see that, I'm honored to have, been able to voice that more, for individuals out there who are facing similar challenges, because, I think in this world, it's, we all have a challenge, and we just need to focus on the right things, but also we have to have those other people in our life to support, to respect that. And I think, individuals who are facing physical challenges, I think they're going to relate to this in a number of ways. The looks that I would get, the things that would be thrown my way because I was different. But also I think that's going to create a lot of awareness as well for others, and say, I need to adjust, my thinking or how I act or what I say. So it's going to bring that respect level, hopefully, to a different place. And also just inspire people, because whether it's a physical challenge or something else, this film is very relatable, and that we all wrestle with an opponent. But I hope, and I believe that this film, it's going to definitely create more awareness to individuals who have those physical and, the visible challenges and how they face them.
As for me personally, I knew how delicate approaching this role would be, considering I don't share the experience. I I wanted to make sure this was treated with true care and attention to detail, and authenticity. And honestly, meeting Anthony early on and him giving me a look like, yeah, you're me, man, like this, and giving me that sort of validation was all the confidence I needed to know that I can approach this with sensitivity. And then the rest was the work. Every single day, waking up, making sure, whether it was learning the crutches, learning his voice, learning his posture, his mannerisms, that this was nothing light, and I made sure that I put in the passion behind the work for Anthony. There's disabled actors in this world. There are disabled actors in this country even, and so. If I'm the one who gets to be the beacon and the person who gets to share Anthony's story, I knew that the responsibility was immense for me. So I was delicate with it, and with Anthony's approval and him riding with me the whole way, we kind of just put it all together.
Thank you so much. I hope a film like this encourages more people to look at events like the Paralympics, which do not get the love and attention it deserves. So thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hi, Jerome. I'm curious about the relationship. How was explained the relationship with your mom to Jerome? Because it feels like it was a different connection, and we can watch it in the movie. So I want to know, how was that? How do you explain to him how he created that connection with his mom, that he wanted to defend her, that he worried, of course, about her, but the connection and the relationship with her mom is different.
Yeah, I think that was to be honest with you, that was my biggest concern with, having our story told in film, was how my mom was going to be portrayed, because that relationship, that's where my strength came from. And, my mom's a hero for me. And so, for Jarrell and I to get to know each other initially and for so long, back in 2019 when we first met, I think that's something we bonded on was, family and our moms. And so I was just able to kind of open up, on my thoughts and what, my mom said to me as I grew up, to inspire me, to motivate me through things, to give me that strength. But I think just, Jarrell, him understanding that relationship on his own, it was just natural. And then again, that attention to detail, him coming out to Arizona to hang out with my family and I, to see how my mom interact just naturally in our own environment, whether it's home, barbecuing together, watching sports, football games on the weekend. And still, I respect my mom so much, and I'm learning from her every single day. I tell people she's really my mom and my dad. I learned a lot of things from her on how to be a man and how to be a good dad now. But Jarrell, he cared about telling that, he cared about seeing that side of it. And that was the emotional side for me. It's like when I would go out there and wrestle, there'd be moments, I get slammed down, I'm walking back to the center, and it's very true. When you watch the film, Jarrell and Jennifer, they're looking at each other, from the crowd, and that really happened. I'd look at my mom and I'd say, I'm good, Mom. That slam didn't hurt as bad as you think. And there's other times, I'm struggling in a match and I'm just losing it. And I'd look to my mom and, she'd give me a nod, like, you're good. She's like, you can do this. You can get through this. And so it was just that relationship. But, Jarrell and Jennifer, they captured that beautifully. And they, again, it was just them just taking the time to get to know us individually together, to watch us interact and just really become part of our circle. So it wasn't just us having to answer, intimate questions. It was just us just being us and just being around each other. And they could see that and they pulled that and, they showed it to the world.
How do you interpret everything that he explained to you about that relationship with your mom, with his mom?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that Anthony and I truly have in common is our love for our mothers and our bonds for our mothers. I'm a mama's boy, and proud of it. And so I used a lot of my relationship with my mother personally to inform a lot of the choices I made with Jen. And Jen is an incredible mother and she cares deeply for her kids. So she naturally took from the essence of her being a mom. So a lot of that came from just pulling from real life for me. And then in terms of the importance of making sure we got that thread across. When you meet Anthony, you meet Judy as well. And Anthony embodies the strength that Judy possesses and holds. And so for me, it was like, this is Anthony's story, but this is just as much as Judy's story. So once Jen and I kind of got that sort of symmetry down, it was the rest was, Billy's job.
Darrell, as fellow Dominican here, we're proud of
Dominicano.
you.
Gracias, Papa. Thank you.
Tamara J for Nora Online. My question is for both of you guys. I wanted to know, what are some conversations you're hopeful the next generation of creatives as well as leaders will have after watching this film? And what is something you'll take away with you forever after completing this project?
Well, I hope the conversations that everyone has is, what do I want in my life? What am I trying to achieve? What are my goals? What are my dreams as an individual? And then also, they take a second to evaluate, what do I focus on? When times get hard, when I have the bad days, what do I allow my mind to get stuck on? I think that's the conversation we all need to have with ourselves on a daily basis. And I hope, and I know by seeing this, people are going to walk away with that understanding. Like, okay, what am I wrestling with today? And sometimes, it's gonna be like, I gotta, for me personally, I write things down, all my positives, all my negatives, so I could really focus my mind on those things. But I think that's a conversation that everyone's gonna have after watching this. What am I truly capable of in my life? And be willing to step outside the comfort zone and, not allow others' opinions and judgments on you to hold you back in your life. And I think that's something my mom just empowered me with, is be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you come from, be proud of your beliefs, be proud of what you look like, and just do the best with it. You're blessed because you're unique. And I think people are going to see that. If I listened to everyone else, I'd be that poor kid who was, born missing his leg, to, all these things that would hold me back. And I never would be here today. But I think people are going to see that and really evaluate their own lives and say, what, I'm unstoppable too. But for me, taking away from this project, so many amazing memories, first and foremost. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, but for me, it's also it's really neat just getting to watch the film and see that list of names that scroll down afterwards, because I can put the faces with the names, like just the memories on set, and as we're going through this promotional tour, that's special. But then the relationships that I was able to build, with Jarrell and with Billy and with Michael, and it's, I'm blessed, to have these people touch my life, and they inspired me, and just have them tell my story in a way that I can't wait for my son to watch it one day. And it's like, it's crazy to think about that. It's like, then he's going to share it with his son, and I'm taking away a legacy, that these people helped me to share with the world.
I think film has always been a form of medicine for the world, and I think this film is a perfect dose of medicine. In such a timely fashion with what's going on in the world, regardless of what your views are. I think we can all agree that we feel this burden, we feel this stress, or this dark cloud over us all, whether it be financially or whether it be personal, emotionally. And so I think this is one of those films that you can truly go to the movies and leave and say, okay, times are dark, but there is a light, and I can be the light myself. Anthony was his light. He was his own light, and he overcame things that none of us have even experienced. And so it's a beautiful film to just let go of the stresses you have and realize that we're all in this together. And I think that's always been the beauty of films, especially films like this, sports films, underdog stories, inspirational stories. It's been a while, I think, that something's come out to uplift us. And so it's very nice that in this time, something is this uplifting and Anthony's story could be told. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Hi, Dana Abercrombie, the Coalition. My question is kind of for both of you. What I loved at the ending was the positive effect that you had on your family. We learned what happened to your mother. We saw that beautiful photo at the end of the whole family. So my question for Jarrell being, as the actor, where do you find that emotional beat where you feel that not necessarily a burden, but kind of that heaviness you're able to release? And then for Anthony, where was that in your actual life?
Oh man, that's a great question. I love that moment in the film, and I thought about that moment a lot before we even shot it. I'm not sure if that was the moment in your life for you, Anthony, but for me, I think it was the moment in the film where it's just that I made a moment that I'm over the hill, and I can look back and look at all the mess, the sweat I left behind, the blood I left behind, and say, I'm still here and I did it. And so I wanted to make sure. I don't even know what I did with my face in that scene. I don't know what choices I really made, but I wanted to make sure that feeling of relief was there. It also timed out well because we shot a lot of the wrestling scenes at the end of our shoot. So each time we call cut, I just felt like I'm almost done with this, with this shoot. And so a lot of how Anthony persevered kind of mirrored how we all persevered on this set and as a whole, as a team. COVID stopped us, the writer strike stopped us, but we were unstoppable, no pun intended.
I mean, it was that moment when the face hits the mat and pointing up. That was the moment Jarrell mentioned relief. That was, honestly, I just remember that feeling, being on that mat, and it felt like a weight had just been lifted off of me. Like I could take a breath for the first time. And it was more than just, it was more than just winning the trophy. It was just like, I gave everything I had. I did everything that I could do to be right here. And that's good enough. And that for me is what I walked away with. Going into that match, it was like win or lose, I did everything I could. I'm just going to believe myself and let it fly. And that's as a high school coach now. I tell these kids we're chasing greatness. In your life, you need to chase greatness. And that's more than just finishing first place all the time, getting gold medals and trophies. It's just walking away, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're committing to, whether it's relationships, school, sports, you give everything you have, and the end result's going to be the end result. But that to me is what greatness is just knowing you gave it all the effort. And when you do that, that's when the weight just gets lifted off you. That's when the relief comes. Just know I did it. I put everything into this. But that moment right there, just on that mat, that was my relief moment. Saying I did everything that I could. And I was blessed to come out with my arm raised at the end of it. But, that was a dream.
Thank you. Wonderful job, both of you.
Thank you.
Well, such an amazing, powerful, inspirational film. On behalf of the largest group of Black TV and film critics, we want to thank you both for your time, and thank you all for watching this edition of the AAFCA Roundtable series.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much.